I'm Rami Jabran, Chief of Staff at Drinks, and this is the Drinks.com podcast, the business of online alcohol. Today's guest knows firsthand what it takes to grow a gifting brand into new categories without losing what makes it special. Kristen Sikora Sampat is the Vice President of Growth at Urban Stems, the design-forward floral and gifting company. Urban Stems has built a reputation for premium curated floral gifting experiences. In November 2025, they partnered with us with drinks to add wine as a seamless add-on to their checkout, turning a floral purchase into a complete gifting moment. Urban Stems is the only floral company offering this kind of integrated wine experience. No redirects, no separate carts, just flowers and wine in one transaction. Today, we're going to dig into how Urban Stems approach this, what they learned from their Aveline partnership, and what Kristen sees coming next for the gifting consumer. So, Kristen, Urban Stems has really become synonymous with elevated gifting. For people who might not know the brand yet, tell us about the brand and kind of how you guys approach that elevated gifting.
Yeah, Urban Stems has been around for about 10 years, and I'd say we really pride ourselves on two specific things. One, a design that you couldn't get at the grocery store, something that's really intentional and well thought through and has interesting floral focals in it. So if you're interested in something that looks elevated and not like the everyday, Urban Stems is probably for you. And then the other part of that is the way our supply chain is set up is really different than any of our other competitive set, like a 1-800 or maybe like a Books. So we actually hold a lot of our inventory all throughout the US, so that we can get it to you same day or next day, as opposed to like some of our other, closest online, if you're going to call it, I call them friends, they're our competitors, but we're
Yeah.
friendly with our friends like over at a Books. Most of the product sits in a separate country and then is flown here, and it usually takes 3 days of lead time. So we do that a little differently, and really the bet we were taking there is that the consumer wants the convenience. They remember, oh my gosh, I need to send this thing and I want to get it there tomorrow, or I want to get it there today. So in the case of Chicago, I had that this morning. I needed to send a gift to somebody they had forgot to send. I ordered flowers this morning for Urban Stems. They got to somebody in Chicago by noon today. Not a
Amazing.
lot of other companies can do that in our space, and so I'd say that's really where we're different, is convenience and design.
And I think that you're hitting it on the nose, like with floral gifting, those types of things, when it is a last minute thing, like you're not planning to send this in 4 days. I feel like sometimes you are, like someone just died, we got to send flowers to the funeral. Sure. Like that's going to take a few days because it's going to happen for the wake or whatever. But most of the time it's, oh no, I just forgot. I need to send someone something, or I just learned something. And the sooner it shows up, the more timely it'll feel for that person. So I think that's really cool that you guys are thinking so proactively about it. When you think about gifting, how did you find a gap that there was the customers wanting more than just flowers or a floral experience?
Yeah. So I started at the business about 2 years ago. My job is to help us grow. So I oversee kind of like all paid marketing, retention, and then thinking about other places we need to be that the consumer expects us to be. So like Amazon is a great start, right? Amazon sells a lot of fresh flowers, which you might not expect. And we weren't on Amazon. And so our question was, should we be there? So those are things that I think about. But I started looking at what were people buying from us. And more than 30% of the reason that you send with us is for birthday. So the question became, well, what else do you send for birthday? Are you adding other things and we don't provide you those things? And the answer is yes. I talked to customers and like the answer was yes. And so what do you send? Do you send it in lieu of us? Do you add it, but you have to go somewhere else and get it? The answer was I sent champagne, I sent wine, I sent cookies, I sent cupcakes, which was kind of like the light bulb moment of we need to provide the consumer a more complete gifting experience. Even in the case of sympathy, people would tell us, I'm coming here and getting flowers, but I'm going somewhere else and I'm sending them a meal so that they can have that in a week or two. And so I think for that really opened up the idea of like, how would I better round out the gifting experience for the most common reasons that people are here, which birthday and sympathy sends are about 50% of the reasons people send flowers.
When people send flowers for birthdays, are they doing that? Like once they've done that once, is that same customer likely to do it again the same time the next year? Or is that like, am I just reading too far into things here?
No, it's a really good question. I think it's a question we had as a business. And the answer is, I think if they're reminded to do so, yes. I think a lot of people come to us for a really special occasion, right? Because we offer kind of like this higher end design. And I think when reminded that they have that birthday to send again, they do, they tend to resend. And so for us, that's been an area of opportunity that we're trying to go after from a retention standpoint, right? Is like, how do we help them remember those most important dates in their life? Whether it's an anniversary and like they need to be reminded their anniversary is coming up and to get those flowers out, or a birthday or something of that nature, like that is, yes, they do send so long as they are reminded. So that first party data collection that every consumer likes to think about, that's, I'm really interested in that with our customer.
Yeah, I feel like especially with like anniversaries, and I'm gonna knock my whole gender down a peg here, but I feel like the reminder ahead of time for those is good. And they, even if they don't remember ahead of time, it sounds like we can get it there saying as long as we're going to urban stems.
Yeah. And I like, whether it's the male or a busy mom, I have two kids who are 2 and 3 years old. I feel like I'm just constantly like barely getting everything done and off the checklist. And so I think that like the reminder is helpful, right? Right now, it's for me a series of calendar invites that I put on my calendar to remind myself to do things. And it would be nice
Mm-hmm.
if somebody else kind of took that mental load and like made the reminders. So that's stuff that we think about. How do we make it easier to gift? How do we make it more seamless for you to remember that you need to send these things or they're important to you while not feeling like we are prying too far into your life?
You talked about birthdays and the alcohol situation, like sending wine with it. You guys are doing that now. We're powering that. That's cool. Have you seen that be successful? Have you seen it unlock what you were hoping to unlock? And kind of tell me about the experience of going through that.
Yeah, it's been really successful. We launched the ability to add cookies to an order at a fairly close time that we added the ability to add alcohol to your order. We've seen it be really successful. So I'm sure, as you can imagine, from an AOV standpoint, we've seen it like pretty significantly move AOV. And the attachment rate has been outpacing our forecast. So the attachment of alcohol to orders has been outpacing our forecast that we expected. I think where I've been surprised is I was unsure if the consumer would really care what they were adding or if it was more about like, okay, I added champagne to this thing. But one of our partners was Schramsberg, and we brought in kind of like a, I'm going to call it a more entry tier on the champagne or sparkling wine, I guess it probably is called, and then a more elevated price point, something that was like closer to the $100 mark. And I was really surprised at the attach rate on the $100 mark, which told me that like there was definitely a customer that we had that was interested in like that really expensive gift and sending that really expensive thing. And kind of seeing the same thing. We offer caviar as one of our options. It's not an inexpensive gift to send, but I'm always shocked at the number of them that I see go out the door every single day.
That's so fascinating. You have a captive audience. They want to spend more. They want a more full gifting experience. And you guys keep unlocking new avenues for them to do that, whether it's caviar, whether it's cookies, whether it's alcohol. When it comes to, you've also partnered kind of, you talked about Schramsberg, you've also partnered with Aveline. You guys have done some like in person events.
Yeah. Yeah. We have one going on day right now with them in LA at this very moment.
I got to drive over there quick.
Yeah.
Tell us about taking that partnership to the next level with those types of partners. How do you guys how do you guys think about that? How do you guys maximize that? And do you guys see success in doing those types of things?
Yeah. For me, when I think about what growth is for us, I think we do a really good job at capturing that like very special occasion for people. But what's interesting about this business that has been a challenge for me as a growth leader, because it's the first time I've come across it, you can have the same customer in this business and their willingness to spend is very different across purchases. Whereas, like, if I were a company selling jeans, you probably are like, okay, if I spent $200 on these jeans, I'm willing to spend that 200 and I always spend that. That's not the case. A consumer can be the same person. And if they're sending to Aunt Mabel that they haven't seen for 10 years, but they need to send, they're trying to send something nice, but not the most expensive thing versus it's my best friend's 40th. Like we're going all out. We're sending the champagne, we're sending the caviar. And so for me, thinking about the next part of like our relationship and how we make this bigger is, have I fully rounded out the gifting experience if you aren't sending like the super big important gift, but you're wanting to send something nice and meaningful, but it's maybe sentiment or for somebody that like you're not ready to spend the $300 on, right? Like that's just not every cent realistically. And we know that for customers. And so, questions I have is like, is our customer ready to come to our site and just send a bottle of Aveline and not send flowers? I don't know. Are they ready to come and say, hey, I want to send these cookies and I want to send this bottle of champagne and that's what I'm going to send? I don't know. And so for me, I think this next phase is understanding like what is the consumer, how does the consumer thinking about us in the context of their gifting and like making sure that we can fulfill all those experiences. And maybe it means that some of them won't have flowers. Maybe it means they always expect to have flowers. I don't know. And so that is where my exploration is kind of like in this next phase is understanding that. Do they want to buy a 3 pack of wine for us, right? Like they can't make it to that barbecue that they were invited to, but it's a really good friend. So do they just send a 3 pack of wine instead of them being able to go themselves? I don't know if that's realistic, but I want to find out.
It's interesting because you've kind of elevated the experience from floral to gifting as the driver, right? And so you're saying, would they buy just our non-floral things? Maybe. And I think trying to figure that out is really cool. My question for you, though, is it's a very purposefully curated selection, right? It's not like I can get cookies from 12 different brands. There's one brand. It's not like I can get wine from 40 different places. It's one or two places. How do you think about those partnerships and maximizing them, but delivering like what you want to continue to validate that guest experience and also validate the I don't want to say taste, but like that you guys are the standard is there across every single aspect of the gifting pieces.
Yeah. For us, the partner selection is really intentional. We have somebody, we have multiple people on our team who think a lot about that partner selection. But I think in the case of something like cookies, right, with Levain, New York based brand, really long heritage in New York. We've started in DC. We've been in New York for a long time now. And so I think for us, like that made sense. Like if we're going to try this with somebody, let's try this with somebody that has a strong New York base because our customer base is huge in New York. So for us, that made a bunch of sense. And like we saw it work. We had the opposite thought with Aveline. We're like, okay, Aveline, like we know this is our customer. We can actually see data from other sources that like our customer is interested in that. We know there's an affinity there. But what I loved so much about them is they have such a stronghold on the West Coast. Like people really know them on the West Coast. They definitely have a nationwide presence, but like that's where they're born. That's where their strongest affinity is. And so for me, that was really great. We've seen a significant uptick in West Coast orders. And like for me, that's exciting that they can kind of help extend our awareness and credibility there by us selling together. And so we've been trying to be thoughtful about the partners that we bring on, thinking about where we both have an audience and maybe where we want to develop more of an audience at.
Yeah, it's almost like we want to, I don't know, take over Texas or something. So it's like, who do we find that's the right partner for us? You guys were very intentional with Levain in New York, and their cookies are delicious and huge. We were all very excited when we got ours over here in LA. But it makes sense, and it's a really interesting thought because I wouldn't initially think this, and we've had conversations about Aveline in the West Coast and you guys for a while now because it's so fascinating how you guys both kind of push all tides up
Yeah.
in terms of helping grow that region in ways where they're already doing it, but then having it accessible through you guys opens up another avenue for them to get customers that maybe they weren't getting through their website or other ways. Like it's so fascinating how you guys are unlocking that through the site.
Yeah, I think it has been, and we're also trying to like test around with our site experience, right? On like how we present that, because we do have Aveline bundled already with some products, but then you can also add it on to any product, and like theoretically, it is just a standalone product that you could buy on your own, and like we really have it that way so that it's really clear for consumers that like you can add this to any order so that it can be part of anything. But yeah, I would say our partnership with them has really helped to strengthen like on the West Coast for us, but then I think also just kind of like nationwide has been really great.
That's cool. As you think about value beyond price, like you said, the customer's open to spend if they see the value for the money. How do you think, and how does Urban Stems think about that value beyond price, and how do you guys deliver on it?
That's the $1 million question. I've been asking my team that for like 6 months now, right? Like I keep looking at the data. And so a couple things that tells me this. A lot of our products you can buy in a single, you can buy it in a double, or you can buy it in a triple. We've seen If I look at my top 5 SKUs year over year, a lot of my top 5 SKUs have turned into doubles, which is interesting because they cost a lot more, but there is a built-in value, right? Because if you're buying double the amount for us, we don't just charge you double, we give you a value in it. And so some of what I am seeing that the consumer is telling me is I'm willing to spend if I feel like what I got for it was really worth it. And so my question is exactly that. What is the next frontier of that? Is it convenience for people? Is the next frontier of feeling like value for money that we should start doing like in some of our same day cities, so we offer same day delivery in 8 cities. Should all of those cities offer the ability that the flowers can be arranged and put in a vase in water? So it's like a florist delivered it, right? Because our product comes in a nationwide box. It gets shipped by FedEx. We deliver to 95% of the zip codes in the country, but you're going to get it in a box and it's not in a vase and it's not in water. Is the next part of the value equation to us that in select cities we should be offering it, that it's like a florist experience, is the next frontier of like what the consumer considers value, other partners. I think we're really trying to figure that out, like what does that mean for our customer and like what do they value.
It's so interesting that you have a higher end customer and they're still looking for value in what they're doing. So it gives you a lot of space to kind of play with different opportunities, like having it delivered in a vase, which is super cool.
I think Target did a great job of this, right? Like to me, I really look at Target as the model. The Target customer is happy to go to Target and spend $100 on a sweater. If it's Missoni and they thought it should have been
Yes.
1,000, but they got it for 100, like they unlocked what value meant. And value doesn't always mean cheap. And I think that that can be a confusion point for teams, is like value doesn't necessarily mean cheap. Value means you might have spent a lot of money, but you thought you should have had to spend more for that thing, right? And so I don't know, maybe that means our customer thinks that they want a tote sent with every single order, right? That they can now take to the farmer's market for their fresh flowers when they get them. Like, I don't know, is that what value means to our customer? I'm not sure. So that is an open question for me and something I'm actively pursuing.
It's a cool predicament to have. Like it's the fun things to work on and not the like depressing things. When you think about you've described success with brands that make the partnership, it makes it stickier. It makes the customer experience stickier. Can you talk about that? Can you unpack that and what makes a partnership sticky versus transactional?
Honestly, I think a lot of it comes down to the relationship that you have with the partner, right? And so for us, Aveline is like a great example of that. I think they're very similar to us. They value some of the same things we value. They put a lot of time into their design, their communication, making sure that they're brand first in everything that they're doing. They put a lot of, I think all of the partners we have, a lot of pride and effort into their product. But I think it starts with just the relationship, right? And so as our relationship started with Aveline, we had we still have calls. We have calls like almost every single week with them, right? Where we're going through, here's what's going on in social, here's what's going on in CRM. We want to do this event, let's plan for this event. We have a lot of conversations with them. And so for me, it comes down to the relationship and like the willingness for both teams to put in the time to want to do the work. The event that we have going on in LA with them today, I would say they have shouldered a huge amount of the work. I believe it's at their CMO's house. She's hosting it. It's an influencer lunch. But like they are hosting it. It's a lunch. Like they made sure they got all the catering done. And then we took on kind of like a different part of the execution with that event. And so for me, it's about the partner and the willingness to work together in the pursuit of the same goal.
It's fascinating because you're basically just saying, like, if we have a good partner, we both want to make this succeed. So we're both willing to invest into it, which makes the experience so much better, which makes it stickier. I think one of the really cool things that I know was a big technical hurdle, but then also a huge amount of work for all the teams was how do we make sure everything delivers on the same day? Like, how do we, like, that was the biggest issue at the beginning was we want to make sure that it's a good experience. Can you just walk us through that? You're thinking how we landed on that and then kind of how that's played out? Because it's such a unique thing that I think even if others got into the space, they still wouldn't be able to master that because that is really the special sauce.
It is. What I will say is that we have a dev team who is technically far more equipped than I am. I would first and foremost say they are the ones that architected this with your development team. I had like very little to do with it, and they figured out the technical part of it. And they continue to like figure out the technical part and make sure that it works right. I think some of it for us, we already played in that space, right? Like almost all their businesses, at least any business I've operated in, this is one of the few places where the consumer expects to pick the day something arrives. You order a t-shirt, it's going to show up whenever they want to ship it to you and get it to you. I think we already had some of that technicality, but that's part of what made this hard of making sure that everything got there at the same time. We spent a lot of time on this. We spent a lot of time in development on this. I wouldn't say it's perfect. There's still people that reach out and go like, "Hey, where's the other part of this thing?" And we have a lot of communication on the page about it. We have a lot of communication and like subsequent emails that you get for it. But for the most part, it does work really well. But it has taken a lot of time. So we launched our partnership together in November, and I think it took us until probably mid to late January to get like really solid and make sure that it kind of fit within the parameters that we set for our on-time delivery benchmarks. I could not speak to you on the technical part of how they made that work.
No, me neither. Me
I
neither.
don't even want to know. A lot of detailed development work went in on the back end.
It's such a cool experience, though. The fact that you could get them both on the same day from the same place
Mm.
and just make it a much more full experience for people. I think the confusion probably comes for customers because they're like, why is it not all here at the same time? Which is fair. But the fact that it all comes within the same day is like so cool. Like it's such a different experience. And they're getting it all from you guys, which is, I think, the easiest part, right? You guys made gifting simple, but you guys are very purposeful in wanting it to be the best experience possible for the customers buying it and the people receiving it.
Yeah. And I think that the first thing that we kind of started with as a business is like, okay, let's pretend we own this cookie inventory. Let's pretend we own this wine inventory. Even if we had that inventory in our warehouse, we couldn't ship these things together. If I commingle flowers that are high, or excuse me, cookies that are high fat with flowers, it's going to pick up that taste. It's like you can't put them in the same box. The same thing is true of the wine. The wine's going to like crush the flowers. So I think for us, that was kind of like the first barrier of no matter what, even if this inventory was in our warehouse, we could never ship these things together and feel confident in the experience. They would always have to ship separate. And no matter what, if you're shipping things separate, like there's just going to be some places where like maybe something does get delayed a day and like get separated from this thing that it should be connected to. So I think as a starting point, we knew that no matter how we did this, like that could be a point of friction and we just had to keep working on it. And for the most part, I think we've gotten it to a really good spot.
Yeah, it's such a cool experience. You guys have been challenging a lot of conventional wisdom, whether it's flowers or wine. Is there a piece of conventional industry wisdom that, like, when you came into this industry, that you were like, no, this is just wrong? Like, we can show otherwise because, like, we don't believe that that's the case.
I think, to be honest, I think our partnership with you was a part of it. I don't know if I'd call it like conventional industry wisdom, maybe a little bit, but I started talking to our CEO, like, all right, I'm really interested in this idea of alcohol. She's like, me too. Like, you should go after that. Most of the people on our team were like, there's no way we're going to be able to sell alcohol. Like, do you know how hard that's going to be? And I was like, I don't know. And then Patrick on your guys' team, Patrick and I found each other, and I was like, you're my guy. I was like, all right, let's figure this out. And I think as we started down this path to do this, I think there was a lot of questions like, can we legally do this? How does like finance, how does this work with taxes? I'm like, I don't know how this works with taxes. We'll figure it out. I think we just had a lot of questions like, can we really do this and do it in a legal way? Like, we don't have, how does this work? Like, we don't own alcohol licenses in every single state. So I think, and then I went and looked at other places that were doing this. And to your point, every other place that I went to, like a Mark and Graham sells alcohol that you can have monogrammed. I clicked on it. It took me to a totally different website. It was a different checkout experience. And like that was a conclusion I came to, is that every place I went to that had alcohol, it looked like they had alcohol, but it had to be separate checkout experiences. Macy's and Bloomingdale's had a separate checkout experience. And so that was a little bit of challenging the kind of industry standard way of doing it. I wanted to have it all be one cart. I wanted it all to be one checkout. Like for me, I really think that our consumer values convenience, and having it be, you have to go to a separate site and do this, to me just did not meet the bar.
Yeah, I feel like that's what we hear a lot from is we've been trying to do it, but like we don't want to send them somewhere else. Like the whole point is they're on our website. Like we want them transacting through us. We want higher AOV. We want to increase basket size. We want to do all those things. We don't want to say, oh, and now if you want your alcohol, like click in and now it's two different transactions and you're doing all these things and it's getting convoluted. And I think you guys really demonstrate that across so many categories in such a cool way, which makes you guys like a very much a gifting destination, which is why I'm excited to see what you guys do next because I feel like it's always unlocking new things that people didn't think were feasible. And so I'm excited to see if people are coming to buy just cookies and wine and you guys are going, oh, okay, now we can just be the gifting destination. And yeah, we're still going to sell the majority of floral, but people know us and they trust us and they know that we have good taste and the things that we sell, we trust.
Yes,
It's
yes.
just cool.
We've got big things coming up, so stay tuned for next Christmas. We have some very, very big things we're working on for like Christmas of next year that I'm very excited about. We've got some really good partners in the lineup. We just launched another new partner, Bordery, so charcuterie boards. We just launched that for Mother's Day, so I think we have some interesting partners in the mix. I think your team and I have been working on some other like partner alcohol brands that we'll be bringing in. So I think like that, and then I think just from like an overall brand standpoint, we have a really big partnership that we're working on for next Christmas. So I know that seems like a lifetime away, but it's not in, it's not
It's
in
not.
consumer products world, right? You got to be
No,
planning.
no, not at all. I remember when I worked at Target, it'd be like, okay, we're going to set this new item in like 12 months. It was like, that doesn't feel that long. And then you get to the aisle and you see it and you're like, that's so cool. I did that. I remember doing that 12 months ago. And it's like,
Yeah,
that time just rips by. So we'll all
yeah.
be excited about what you guys are launching in the holiday season. Kristen, I want to really quickly do a few rapid fire question for you.
Oh, I hope I have rapid answers.
I think they will be. What do you think the best metric for measuring a successful brand partnership is?
Oh, that's tough. Can I only pick one?
I'll let you pick a few.
I mean, ultimately, I think it's for a successful partnership. I think some of it's going to be like your conversion, your add to cart to conversion. Also, just some of like the traffic metrics that it bring in. Like those are probably three that I'm looking at really closely. In the short term, I think on the longer view, really understanding the LTV and repeat metrics and like percent of new versus returning customers.
I like that. Beyond Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, we know those are like big floral days. What's a day that is also one of those that people don't really expect?
Thanksgiving and Christmas. We see a lot of orders at Thanksgiving and Christmas, which once I say it, you're like, well, duh. Like, can you give me one that's like a little more interesting than that? Easter. We get a lot of Easter orders. I think Easter, a lot of people have Easter brunch. I think it sneaks up on them and then they're like, oh, people are coming over and they like order flowers. So like Easter is another one where you kind of see like a pop of orders you didn't expect. I think the other place where you probably don't expect this is probably more manufactured by us. Halloween has started to pop for us as a floral gifting time period.
Are they getting like Halloween colored things?
Yeah, so we offer like I'm gonna call it a line, but we purposely assort our merchandising team, so not me, but our talented merchandising and product design team designs into what I'm gonna call like much more Halloween themes, like black calla lilies and like
Yeah,
darker, moodier. And we've seen that pick up and take off.
that's cool. Yeah, and I feel like you guys are finding that if you have the right things for people at the right time, they're willing to purchase, which is cool because it's almost like I would never think about Halloween, but if you guys are showing me like black flowers or dark flowers that can be nice and spooky with the rest of my house, then I'm in. I
Here
love
it is.
spooky season. Kristen, this has been great. Thank you for sharing Urban Stems, how you guys have been talking, rethinking and reimagining the gifting experience can be and what it takes to make a new category feel really native rather than like attached on, glued on. This has been the business of online alcohol. Every episode, we talk with people who are building, operating in the space, sharing what's working, and where the industry is heading. If you found this conversation useful, subscribe wherever you listen. And if you know someone in the industry who'd get value from this conversation, send it their way. I've been Rami Jabran. Thank you for listening to the business of online alcohol. Hold on.